higher end couches, people are generally more organized people, and they'll post a couch for sale like a couple weeks or even a month in advance of when it actually needs to be gone.
So if he's buying kind of like a lower end gray IKEA sectional from a college student that is moving out, 90% of the time he's going to sell that same sectional to a college student moving in. It makes total sense. So I'm hearing two things. First is that there's a limited number of good couches that are being sold back into the market. And these couches are typically coming from people who are moving that don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but it's more of a convenience thing. Otherwise,
what if I told you there's a secret to snapping up the best couches before anyone else even knows they're for sale? Meet Ivy Flip, the game-changing app designed for the savvy couch flipper. Why trudge through endless listings when you can be first in line for the best deals? With our instant listing notifications for Facebook, Craigslist, and OfferUp, you're always the first to know, ensuring you never miss out on a prime opportunity. This means more deals, more flips, and more profit. Ready to unlock the secret to top-tier couch flipping? Download Ivy Flip now and stay ahead of the curve. Click the link in the description or search Ivy Flip in the Google Play Store or the iOS App Store and get started today for free.
Elwyn, thank you for joining me on the Couch Pod today. Why don't you give the audience a quick introduction to yourself?
Yeah, hey. So I'm a couch flipper from Victoria, British Columbia, which is, if nobody knows where Victoria is kind of adjacent to Vancouver, British Columbia, up in Canada. I've been couch flipping since November 2022. I started doing it a little bit part-time, and then December 2022, I was like, all right, let's take this full-time. Through December, I worked on it full-time, January, full-time. And then in January 2023, I found Ivy Flip, and it was a game changer for me, of course. I started using it, and then I would just continue couch flipping full-time. January, February, March. Kind of by the end of March, I had 3 storage lockers. I was selling 8 to 12 couches a week. Selling them for about, my average sale price was between $400 and $500 at that point. And it's making huge splits on my couches, but my average split on every couch was probably $350. So yeah, that's kind of how I started off. And then in April, I decided to make the move to build a brand. And so I got a lease on a warehouse, and I started building the brand Recertified Furniture back then. And I've been working on it ever since.
That's cool, making money moves. So what brought you out to the conference? What because you flew all the way from Victoria. It's not a short flight, and probably more expensive for you than, for example, my flight was $150 round trip.
Yeah.
So what got you to come out here?
Yeah, it's I feel so networking events, everybody always says on the internet that networking events are super valuable. And I did one in the spring, and I think it was with a different group, and I think it was hugely valuable. I just learned a bunch of little things and kind of shifted the way I thought about a few little things in ways that then made me, make changes to my business, which then in turn made my business a lot more profitable per hour of input that I put in. So yeah, I'm here to kind of do the same thing, hopefully. Learn a couple little things.
That's cool. So you're looking at it as an investment.
Totally.
Whatever money you put in, you're going to get more out of it in terms of the knowledge that you gain back.
100%.
And yeah, at this stage in your career, that's probably one of the most important things that you could be investing in is just yourself and your knowledge. And so, there are various influencers that talk about this. You could try to go figure out some of these things for yourself, or you could go connect with someone or pay someone that's already been there, done that, and greatly accelerate your learning. And so, simply, you don't have to make the mistakes that other people have made if you can learn from their mistakes instead.
Totally, yeah.
So looking at the group of attendees and the programming that they have available, I guess what are some of the top things on your mind that you're looking to get out of it? What are you most interested in learning or unlocking in terms of your potential at the conference?
I think for me, to be honest, it's I don't know what I don't know. So I'm just here to learn what I don't know. Yeah, I kind of just want to see what other people are doing, try and think on that, and like try and pick and choose things to kind of incorporate into my business.
Mhm.
And then there'll be things that won't incorporate into my business.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So sometimes, there's like a pain point that is affecting you in particular, and great. Like then you can be a little bit more targeted in your interactions and your information seeking. But otherwise, it's just like being open to the idea that, yeah, you don't have all the answers. And so maybe this is a good time to learn. So
Totally. Yeah.
very cool, very mature perspective. And you're a young guy, right? Like how old are you?
21.
21. So you're a young guy. I'm 31. I have a full 10 years on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Full 10 years on you. I've been an entrepreneur my entire career. So the past 10 years only doing entrepreneurial things. And my perspective now, 10 years in the game, is a lot different than at 21. But, I really do have to tip my hat to you. Is like you're going for it and you're working hard and you're investing in yourself. It seems like you're making a lot of the right decisions. So, if this is just the beginning of your journey, I think you're going to end up doing pretty well for yourself. So
It's a goal. Yeah. Thanks.
So how have things been going with the new warehouse and the brand? So you said you launched that in April. Like what is like an average month for you look like nowadays?
Yeah. So like, I feel like it's hard for me to give an average because every month I've continually pushed consistently every month to sell higher and higher and higher end couches. So kind of in the phase of business I'm in right now, like I'm really keen on figuring out how much margin per couch I can make. My goal is to like really try and find the limits of margin per couch that I can make. And then really when I feel like I've found those limits, then go and try and push for volume as much as I can, of this, high margin couches that I can do. So, I mean, last month I sold 21K gross.
Wow.
And then with 10K net on that. Month before that, it was 14K gross with like 7 net. And then before that, it was like 11K gross with 55 net. So definitely been growing it. Mind you, those last 3 months, those have been 40-hour work weeks. So, and the 40 hours is like 10 hours of me selling. So I have my store open for 10 hours a week. I don't do any appointments. I just do like 10 hours of open time. And then 20 hours of that is pickup time. I do about 20 hours each week pickup time. I do, pickup and delivery are mixed in with that 20 hours. I'll do like an overnight trip to Vancouver, just the city, kind of the big city near Victoria. And I just pick up a whole bunch of couches with a big U-Haul on that trip. Bring them back, and then I do pretty much no cleaning at this point, like a little bit of cleaning, and then ad creation and posting.
So your revenue numbers going up pretty consistently month over month. Something like a 30 to 40% increase month over month from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And then your net profit numbers are pretty consistent at about 50% of revenue. So your net profit margin, let's say, is like something like 50% of your gross sales number, which is good. Which is good for a flipping business. It's what I see is that the flippers with the highest net profit margin might be doing something like 75%. So if they make 10,000 in sales, 7,500 of that is net profit. And then on the lower end, you have people operating closer to a 30% net profit margin. But this also depends on volume. So, if you're doing 75% net profit, you're probably not outsourcing any labor. And you're only cherry picking maybe the best deals. And so your gross sales numbers are going to be low. Whereas, if you're doing more volume, for example, flippers pushing 35K a month, their net profit numbers are going to be closer to like maybe 30, 40. So this seems to, be true based on what I've observed in the financials of looking at different flippers. But, relative to where you're at in your growth, I'd say your numbers are pretty healthy. Your numbers are pretty healthy. Now, something you said that is curious to me is you're trying to find the limit of margin that you can make on a couch. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, what's leading you to adopt that stance, and what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I wanna build a profitable business, and of course, I want to build as profitable of a business as possible. So yeah, in the short term, what that's looked like is I put a limit on myself for the past 3 months of 40 hours a week, and to actually only work 40 hours a week, which has been really hard to do. I've just had to take couches in that need very little cleaning, and then need very little cleaning and have a fair amount of margin in them. So yeah, part of the reason for me pushing my margins, like trying to like push for as high margins as possible, is to like meet the constraint of being profitable and working 40 hours a week with all the overhead I have. And then the other part of the reason is, if I can, so I've done a handful of couches in the past little bit with like over $2,000 margin on them. And if I can learn how to, my mentality is if I can learn how to consistently sell couches with $2,000 margins, if I can crack that code and then I can go do 10 of those a week, then I'm a profitable business. And I know it's possible because new furniture stores, what those margins look like is most of the time what that's looked like is couches that I purchase for between $500 and $1,000 and sell for $2,500 to $3,000. And those sales that I've made, they've been, not all of them have actually been through Marketplace. So I have a storefront, and it's been people who just come in looking for a couch and have money to spend, have been shopping around at furniture stores, been looking at couches for $5,000, for $7,000, for $8,000, and then find out about my store. And they're usually the people, actually every person who's bought a couch in the range of $2,500 to $3,000 from me has been a family, a kind of young professional family starting out, who has money and can spend money on a high-end new couch, but also knows their kids are going to trash their couch. And so they find out about me and then like find a couch from me that's retails for $10,000 or $8,000 or in that range for $3,000. And they're really intrigued by that. And they go, oh, this is the perfect medium because we want a nice looking couch. We want a respectable looking couch in our home because they're professionals. But they also want something that's kind of more disposable. So they go to me. So I know those people are out there because I've sold to them. And so now I'm kind of just trying to dial down trying to dial down the business to cater to those people essentially.
Really smart. Really smart. So, what you've done is you've uncovered a customer archetype, also known as like a buyer persona. And you think you have product market fit, right? So there's a kind of person out there that is uniquely interested in buying high margin used furniture. They have the disposable income to pay for something more. Maybe they could afford a $5,000, $7,000 couch, but they're a young, growing family, and maybe they don't want to pay that retail premium, sort of like fresh off the lot feel if you're buying a car. And, they can get something pre-loved, pre-used, or pre-loved, pre-owned, and get a great deal on that. And still be and save some money and still be within their means.
Yeah.
And so this is a really interesting place for you to be as a business owner. A lot of people don't figure out the value of niching they just never figure it out. And so for you to come to that realization so early on in your trajectory as an entrepreneur, I think is, a testament to your thoughtfulness and your ability. Because when it comes to messaging and communication, if you try to be everything to everyone, you are nothing to anyone.
Yeah.
So being really generic, right, means that yes, your message might be broadly more applicable to more people, but it just doesn't hit in the same way. So I'll give you the example of, let's say I'm advertising on Facebook Marketplace, on Facebook. I'm running Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
If I run an ad that's like, hey, I can save you, do you want more leads? Do you want more leads? I can generate 25% more leads for you than what you're currently getting. Okay, sure. That might be broadly applicable to a business owner who wants more leads, but it doesn't really speak to my actual needs as a business, like what my business actually does. And it doesn't position you as a resource that knows anything specific to how my business operates, because you could be generating leads for HVAC technicians, electricians, plumbers, and landscapers, etc. But in contrast, if I run an ad that says I work only with dentists' office that are in populations of 100,000 or more that are doing revenue between $1 and $5 million. Now you sort of have my interest, right? Because that's a very narrow target market. And it makes me think that you know something about my business that the generic guy does not. And it gives you an opportunity to get your foot in the door. And you have to remember that on Facebook, there's a lot of noise. People are not coming to Facebook to shop for your marketing services or whatever. People are coming to Facebook to be entertained. They're, not looking to buy anything necessarily. They're more interested in looking at, a dog picture or a meme or, watch a funny video. And so if you're going to get their attention, you have to be doing something that stands out. And that is the power of having a niche, is that you understand your buyer at a deeper level, and you can make your messaging more relevant to the person that you're trying to get in front of.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting strategy. What are some of the things that you're doing to cater to the needs of your niche?
Yeah, good question. It's the inventory. So inventory is big. Really the key is for these people, I found is it's just something, they want something stylish. And really what that looks like is just clean lines, neutral, more neutral styles. And it's gotta be, to have a higher margin thing. It's gotta be a big part of it is my price compared to the retail price. So these people are looking for value. They're not actually looking necessarily at the cost of the couch. For them is less important in some ways than the percent off retail, essentially. So they have money and they're willing to spend it, but why they go for used is good value. Mm-hmm. So yeah, making just getting couches with a really high original retail value is essential. And so I can price those, 75% off, or between 75% and 50% off retail. Mm-hmm. But with the higher end couches, so far in my experience, I've really had to sell them closer to 75% off retail. I think I can change that because I see other people doing Kayo. There's a company called Kayo.
Yep.
And they sell stuff not even at 50% off retail that has an original retail value of $10,000. So I know it's possible to sell stuff for a lot more than I'm selling stuff. It's just getting there is key, and continuing to build a brand and build an audience for the brand, I think is key. Mm-hmm. And for that part of the equation, yeah, that's a really good question. I need to try and figure out what brand these people want to buy from. And I don't know the answers to that really. I'm trying to figure it out.
Very interesting. Very astute observations. Yeah. I'm just going to keep giving you credit, man. You're thinking about your business with a level of depth, at least when it comes to your sales strategy, that is more sophisticated than 90% of the people I talk to. Most people are not it's not like you've had formal training in consumer psychology, buyer psychology, and marketing principles, or have you? Maybe, I don't know.
On YouTube is everything.
Yeah, so you've been learning off YouTube, but Yeah, but you're taking those like sort of high level concepts and you're learning how to apply them to your business. And so there's definitely some thoughtfulness into what you're doing here. So let me give you some of my own thoughts too, because this is actually this is my main wheelhouse. I spent 4 years running a marketing agency.
Cool.
I studied a lot of consumer psychology and philosophy when I was in school. Personally, I've been running businesses for 10 years. I had a market research technology company that I ran for the better part of 2 years. I worked with one of the greatest consumer psychologists on this planet, Howard Moskowitz, learning his research methodology. So, this is probably something I can weigh in on.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of our flippers the other day, because we have a flipping business now too, or we partner with flippers in certain markets. And he said something very interesting to me, which is that based on who he's buying the couch from, he can predict who he's going to sell the couch to.
Mm.
So if he's buying kind of like a lower end gray IKEA sectional from a college student that is moving out, 90% of the time, he's going to sell that same sectional to a college student moving in.
Yeah.
If he buys like a West Elm brand name 3-seater sofa from a yuppie who's moving out after having lived in the location for like 2 years, he's going to sell that 3-seater West Elm to a yuppie moving in. That's probably only going to be there for 2 years. If he buys, a big sectional from a family that's been like well loved, but their kids are growing up, he's going to sell that sectional to a family that's a little bit younger and their kids are in the process of growing up. And, in his estimation, this was about 75% accurate, right? Like whoever he's buying the couch from, he can also just go look at the profile of the person that he's selling the couch to. It's going to be very, very similar. And it's just funny how consumers will aggregate in their tastes. And so understanding the style of couch that is popular with the kind of, the families that are purchasing the couches from you, what their style preferences are, and then catering a selection of inventory that fits those tastes, probably the key part of your strategy here. And then, what are like, there are like other things that you can do, like surveys, different kinds of studies to understand like psychologically what components of your brand and messaging they're going to react the best to. You can do those like by finding a panel of customers that you've already done business with and just asking them questions, or, really the best way is just to get them on the phone and start talking to them. But you can also do things like run A/B tests on Facebook Marketplace, right? Try different audiences that you're targeting using different demographic or interest-based criteria, and then putting different kinds of creatives and messages in front of them. And then Facebook will do the testing for you and let you know this, kind of message, this kind of creative tends to do better with the audience that you're interested in getting in front of. And then every time you run an experiment like that, it deepens your knowledge of the consumer with an empirical basis. And so that is knowledge that you can build on top of. And I love this other way that you're thinking about your business, which is you are thinking about what is possible, not just based on what you have done in the past. Of course, your past experience is influential, but it's not the only thing leading you to believe that there is a market opportunity. You're looking at what else is happening in the market. And so your reference is not bound to your past experience. It's bound to, you're benchmarking against what other people are doing. So for example, you're looking at the fact that there are new furniture retailers selling basically the same couch, but at $7,000 instead of $2,500. And so you know that there are people out there that will pay money for those couches. Same thing with the Kayo example. You know that Kayo is selling just used furniture, but their markups, their markdowns are not 75%. Maybe their markdowns are only 40%. And the only reason they're doing that is because they can sell at a 40% markdown instead of a 75% markdown, right? And they're much further along. And so you're calibrating against the market in general and making your projections about what is possible based on that, as opposed to being limited by maybe your past failures or successes, which is the right way of doing it, right? Now, just to circle back, I want to talk about your procurement and your distribution strategy in a little bit more depth. Something you said was you're taking a box truck, it sounds like. You're renting a box truck from U-Haul. Then once a week, you're heading down to Vancouver, filling it up and bringing it back to Victoria. So, and you even said overnight trip.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
So yeah, exactly what you said. I'll rent a U-Haul, and Vancouver is actually a ferry ride away. So I'm on an island. Victoria's on Vancouver Island. Fairly big island, but still. So the ferry is a 2-hour ferry ride each way. And then you have to be there really like an hour early. So each time you're doing the ferry, it's like the whole ferry ordeal is like 6 hours round trip. Plus really driving from the ferry terminal to where the couches are. You know, it's like your driving time, your time just to get from one city to the other, your round trip time is like 8 to 9 hours, depending on traffic. Just deleted from transportation, like irrelevant to picking up any individual couches. So, like if I wanted to go to Vancouver to pick up one couch, the whole trip is going to take me like 10 hours. So I have to do the overnight thing because there's just not enough time in the day when the ferries run for me to make the trip over, pick up couches throughout the day, and then come back. At least to pick up like 6 or 7 couches. So yeah, like I'll go over in the morning and then pick up some couches till the evening. I'll get there like afternoon, kind of, and then pick up couches in the afternoon to evening, and then sleep, wake up, pick up some more couches, and then come back. And yeah, that's been it's been like every 1 to 2 weeks at this point. It hasn't been every week for the past little bit, but yeah, that's what I've been doing. So the next kind of step is like I'm really still trying to tweak, and like I'm still like experimenting with selling like random different styles of couches and high-end couches. So I'm definitely getting it dialed down more so what my customers want. But yeah, some of the couches that I picked up have taken a long time to sell, and so that's why it hasn't been every week that I've gone over, because I just have inventory that's just on the floor.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, normally if I'm talking to a flipper and their goal is just to build the biggest business possible, I encourage them to take more base hits compared to always looking for the home run. But you are in a unique situation in that you're on an island, right? And it's not as simple for you to go and get the inventory you need. You are literally taking a journey. You're going on a voyage, you know, every time you want to go pick up couches. And so just to go get one couch doesn't make sense. You need to go get 6, 7 at a time. And if there's limited space on that truck, which there is, you probably can only fit about 7 sectionals, let's say, on each truck, then every single sectional that you bring, you want to maximize the, your profit margin on. And it doesn't, maybe in your case, it doesn't make sense to take those base hits. And, what I would characterize as a base hit is something you can flip for like $500. It's not a bad place to be. I think, that's about what we shoot for in our flipping businesses is, we'll pick up a couch if we think we can hit $500.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be the most amount of money. Like we don't need to make $1,200 on every flip. But we're looking to make at least $500. That's worth it to us. And that's $500 gross profit. That's not including the operating expenses. And because it's a trade-off oftentimes between how much you can sell a couch for and how long you're going to have to sit on it. So, sometimes instead of selling a couch for $1,200 profit, maybe we'll let it go for $800 because we know we can move it immediately as opposed to sitting on it for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, etc. But we also operate in markets where the storage cost is extremely high. So we're in metropolitan New York, in addition to now expanding out into Connecticut. Connecticut, the storage is a lot cheaper, but in New York City, the storage is extremely high. And so imagine, we have a storage unit, it costs us $1,000 a month. We can fit 10 couches in there. If we sit on a couch for a month, well, we're incurring $100 in expense just to store that couch. And And
Yeah.
so you can see how the storage cost becomes a truly important factor when you're thinking about operating in a very dense metro area with, high real estate prices. But it sounds like you were becoming like the king of geo-arbitrage on Victoria Island. And, I know flippers that are all over the country, all over the US and Canada practicing something similar. For example, whether they start in Columbus, Georgia, and they drive to Atlanta, or they're in Connecticut, they're driving to New York. Like, I've heard variations of this story many, many times. And for the people doing it, they do it because it works, right? Like the available inventory near them, maybe there's not enough of it, or just the quality is not like what they need it to be. And there's an ample supply of quality inventory in a more population dense city right next to them. And so they'll load up their truck and they'll do that like 4 or 5, 6 hour journey each direction to go get the inventory they need. And so I'm curious, like what led you to making that initial jump? Because it's a risk to get that box truck, and it's obviously a huge investment of time too. So you have to pay for the box truck, you have to pay for housing while you're in Vancouver, and then you're investing 10 hours of your time just to make the trip. That's not an easy decision. What made you feel like you should do that?
Yeah, well, pretty much it's pretty simple. So the supply, I've been targeting $1,000 to $2,000 splits for my couches, and yeah, like that means a really high original retail price couch, and there aren't enough of those in Victoria for me to run a business. Like I can get like one a week in Victoria. But I want to be selling I'd love to be selling like 10 of those a week or more. I want to be selling as many as possible a week. But there's just not, that Victoria has a much smaller population compared to Vancouver. And so I just can't get the quantity that I want for that. And so that's why I have to make the trip.
So when did you start making these trips?
End of September was the first time I did it. Last week of September, so.
Wow. And that's when
a couple months.
The numbers you were giving me started going up and up and up.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And the amount that I'm working too, right? So it's like I used to be a flipper and I'd buy things at all times of the day. And I'd sell things at all times of the day. I'd be meeting people at my store or storage lockers whenever in the day. And, I was working. It's really hard to say really how many hours really I was actually working, right? Like I was really kind of working in some way or another most of the day, every day. And it's like, I want to eventually, like, I want to automate this whole business. Like, that's my goal. If it takes me a couple of years, well, damn, it's gonna take me a couple of years. It's gonna take me some time. But like, my goal is to automate this whole business. And, I can't automate the business by like the business can't be me. And so I need to create systems for the business to function. And me, working a little bit at like 7 p.m. every day, or not 8 p.m. or random times of every day, like it like that. That's not how you automate a business. You can't hire somebody to do that for you. Like it just doesn't work like that. So yeah, I was like, what, I need to systematize this, and to an extent that I could hire somebody to replace me. And right now I've been doing is being in like pursuit of eventual systematization. So now I'm working like I've capped myself at 40 hours a week. So everything I've been doing, it's not like really, in a lot of ways, it's not that impressive. But like I really do just work 40 hours a week. And 10 of those hours are me selling on the floor. I don't do appointments. I don't go to the shop at random times. I just don't. I don't work on Sundays really ever. 10 hours a week at the shop, Saturday all day, and then Friday for 2 hours. I do about 10 hours of combined cleaning and making like ads, taking photos and stuff, doing research on the couches. And then the rest, 20 hours, just like pickups and then deliveries. I do all my deliveries on one day. Tuesday's the delivery day. And my Tuesdays sometimes happens on Wednesday, depending on how the Vancouver trip goes. And then Mondays and Tuesday mornings is like pickups and delivery with U-Haul. So
No, it's awesome. And I was, when you were saying earlier that you're capping yourself at 40 hours a week, I was a little curious about that. I mean, I implicitly sort of got the logic, but hearing you say it out loud makes a lot of sense to me. Because as a flipper, you can work all day, every day. You can work, there's no end to how much work you can put into your business.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll burn yourself out, if you just continue to do that. There's only so much like ding, 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 Facebook notification that as a human being, you can reasonably bear. Right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you're going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then B, it puts yourself in a position that's not sustainable and very difficult to scale because the numbers that you're hitting your business are not based on normal working hours. They're based on sustained superhuman effort.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to replace yourself,
you
have to realize that almost no one that you bring into your business is going to care as much and work as hard as you.
Yeah.
Especially for something like this. And so you have to think about what are the pieces of labor that I'm doing, how much time those pieces of labor are taking,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can price that out. So, you're, looking at your equation, it's like, okay, I'm doing 20 hours of pickups and deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very tangible number, right? How much would it cost? Like, okay, how many pickups and deliveries can I get done in those 20 hours?
Yeah.
And then let's say it's like 1 per hour, right? So you're doing 20 pickups and deliveries in that 20 hours a week. That's probably not the real number, but I'm just making it up.
Yeah.
And then you can price that. So in order for me to do 20 pickups and deliveries, maybe I need, I pay $50 per, it's going to cost me $1,000. Right. And then that's for 4 weeks in a month. It's going to cost me $4,000 to replace myself as a driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can figure out in your model, let's say I'm making 16,000 gross, 12,000 net. In order for me to make the same 12,000 net, I need to be doing 20K gross if I replace myself as the driver in this equation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes very easy to figure out how to run your business without you actually being in the business at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually how Ivy today, we started flipping couches in the summer, and I was actually the one doing the sourcing and the selling, like myself, when we first started. And at this point in December, I have completely replaced myself in the business, and it just runs itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have VAs, they do the sourcing, they do the selling. We have a website, we run pickup ads. And so we have inventory coming to us. We have people finding inventory and, scheduling it for us. And then we make sales on the website. They're doing all the selling.
Mm-hmm.
And then even the labor component, like the pickups, the deliveries, the cleaning, the staging, all of that, I no longer have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll tell you, we are not nearly as profitable as a flipper that is doing all the work himself. Like, flipper doing the work himself, maybe 75% profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near that. However, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
I literally, I just look at the numbers every week. Are we hitting our targets?
Mm-hmm.
And, as a result, I can come to this conference. I can, right now I live in Mexico. I'm working remote. And so it gives me that luxury to step away from the business and just think strategy.
Yeah.
And granted, my starting point and my ability to make certain investments to get to that point, to get to this point in the business, different than where most flippers are going to start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the thought process is exactly the same, right? Even though maybe the resources I have available in my starting position is a little bit different. And you share, and you've been, utilizing a very similar kind of thought process as you've been thinking about how to grow your business. So that's, once again, very cool. Like, not that I didn't respect you before. I did, of course, but definitely gaining a higher level of respect for you and how you've been approaching your business in just, this past year. So here's a couple more questions for you, because I think this whole geo-arbitrage thing is not well understood or utilized by a lot of flippers. So particularly ones that live in locations that are less population dense, this could be particularly helpful to them.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that in Victoria that the demand far exceeds the supply of couches?
Yeah, you have used couches. Yeah. Yeah. I actually think everywhere the demand can far exceed the supply, but that's like another rabbit hole we go into. Just with like the life cycle, useful life cycle of couches. Like in the used industry, like the potential demand can always far exceed supply. But yeah, in Victoria, yeah, totally. For example, like if I had 10 gray sleeper sectionals every single week, I could sell those. If I had 15, heck, if I actually don't even know how many gray apartment size sleeper sectionals I could sell every week in Victoria, but it'd be insane. Because I'll post, an IKEA fry tin for like $700 and get like 50 messages overnight. So yeah, probably everybody has that experience, honestly, but are very in demand couch. But yeah, no, Victoria totally demand exceeds the supply. Yeah.
Well, you're saying in every market you feel that could be the case. So let's go into that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
This is what the pod's for.
So I think like marketed properly, the amount of people in any given city that are shopping for a new piece, like a new couch or new to them couch, just like a couch that is better than what they currently have. Like it's there's always, there's a few ways to look at this, and I'm not sure if this, so I thought this out of my head, and I don't really know how relevant this actually is for couch flipping. This is just like this is not really directly relevant. So let me just like explain myself really quickly.
Go for it.
Yeah, so like every year in a given city, there's houses built, there's apartments built, there's new living residences constructed, and those need to be furnished. And whether those are furnished with new or used furniture, generally they're furnished with new furniture. But there's a demand in a given market. There's always like every year there's a need for more couches. And then there's also every year couches that just get destroyed. So, couches that, like the final straw goes and like the frame breaks, or they're just too gross, or they're just, there's always couches get issues, springs get broken, or whatever, they get ripped badly, or if they're faux leather, they're peeling bad. And there's couches in every market that end up going to the dump. Quality used couches, at least stuff that I sell, the lower quality you go, the less this is the case. But most of the time for higher quality couches, people only sell them because they're moving. So people don't, when somebody buys a $10,000 couch or $8,000 couch, they don't want to sell that thing just on whim. Like they sell it because they have to sell it because they're moving and they can't take it with them because they're moving too far, or it's not going to work in their new space. So those couches, there's a very limited amount. A lot of people that move don't sell their couch. So at the end of the day, the only couches in the used market that come into the supply chain are from people who are moving, and the amount of people who sell the couches when they're moving is just got to be less than the amount of couches that get destroyed and then need replacing, and plus the amount of couches that are required for new construction. So that's why, like, at the end of the day, like, my little thought process there is like, yeah, no, in every market, if a given used couch can be marketed properly, like cleaned properly and then marketed properly, I see the ultimate representation of this as being Kayo. Like they've got like the best marketing to like people beyond Facebook Marketplace to regular retail consumers. So, stuff marketed properly in a way that normal retail consumers would buy through a company, not through Marketplace. I think at the end of the day, yeah, like there's always going to be more demand than supply.
Makes total sense. So I'm hearing two things. First is that there's a limited number of good couches that are being sold back into the market. And these couches are typically coming from people who are moving that don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but it's more of a convenience thing. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, people are holding on to couches, or, the couches get into a state of disrepair where they're destined for the landfill. Mm-hmm. That combined with the fact that there's tons of new construction happening, real estate is a very precious commodity, population is getting bigger, more and more, domiciles, apartments, etc. need to be constructed. And that probably outpaces the number of used couches that are available. Mm-hmm. And then combine that with the removal of a taboo against used furniture, mm-hmm. and then all of a sudden, you have these demand-heavy market dynamics.
Yeah.
Because the reason why people don't buy new couches today is because they don't want to deal with scammers. They don't want to get a couch infested with bed bugs, so on and so forth. And this is actually the point that Nick Reichert has made, the person organizing the conference today, is that by becoming more legitimate, creating a community, having sort of communal standards, and reversing the stigma against used couches, we actually create a greater market for ourselves.
Totally.
And it does make sense that maybe, and generally this is what I've heard from other flippers, and the conclusion I've had reached myself is that flipping tends to be a supply constrained business model. You know, like you're not out there convincing anyone, hey, you need a couch. People need couches. It's sort of the centerpiece of the American home, or the Canadian home maybe too. And whether or not you can sell them a couch is sort of based on, do you have the right inventory at the right price? If you do it, like, people know a good deal when they see one and they'll want to buy it. Here's a really good example of that. We have been talking with an interior designer out in New York City. She works with a real estate development company. There was a huge real estate development project that basically fell through, but they had already ordered 2,000 new couches to outfit this real estate project. And so she has 2,000 of these couches, and they're not coming in at once. They're coming in like a pallet, a truckload at a time. These are brand new West Elm, Urkel, Crate and Barrel couches. Some, retail $4,000, $6,000, etc. And she's been selling them consistently at 20-25% off retail.
Nice.
And the things are just flying off the truck. Like, as soon as the truck lands, 80% of it is already sold. And it's mostly happening through word of mouth now. Because people know a good deal when they see one. And if you can get a brand new couch 20% off of what you normally pay, like, you're saving thousands of dollars, people really want that. And so in that sense, you have the right supply at the right price, couches will sell themselves. So it makes sense that by solving the solving the supply problem, taking the high availability of couches, quality couches in Vancouver, moving them to your location of Victoria, you've been able to, net on this interesting little market dynamic. And your business is doing really well because of that. But thinking a little bit more in terms of the mechanics of this. So you're scheduling 1 day, 2 days, essentially, where you travel and then maybe you do some pickups at night. And then the next morning you wake up and you start doing more pickups. And your goal is to get 6-7 good sectionals in that truck before you return.
Yeah.
What about the coordination and logistics of that? Because I imagine this is the first problem that flippers are thinking of, like, how do I get 6-7 people to stick with it and actually give me their couch? Yeah. So I imagine that's very challenging.
Yeah, that is a challenging part, and that is a problem that is one of the bigger problems right now I'm working on solving. So what I've found is people that I'm sourcing hiring couches from at a pretty low price, they price things very low because they want it gone. And they want it gone quickly and conveniently. They don't want the hassle of selling it. And so they're like, I'm just going to get rid of it. But now, what I've found a lot of the time, not all the time, there's exceptions, but a lot of the time with these people, they want it off their mind and they want it gone, but they don't actually want it gone today. Like, they want it gone today, but they don't want it gone today. And what I mean by that is they want it off their mind. And they think sold out of their house means off their mind, which it does. But the problem is, like, so a lot of the time I've found I'll go pick people's, couches up day of, and they're like, oh, great. Like, they're so happy that it's gone. And then they're like, oh, we don't move for another 4 weeks, or whatever. And so then they're like actually without a couch, and they're like, oh, darn. And so, and with lower end couches, this is different, I find, because lower end couches, people have are less organized generally. So they do actually want it gone today because they're moving today or they're moving tomorrow or whatever. But with the higher end couches, people are generally more organized people, and they'll post a couch for sale like a couple weeks or even a month in advance of when it actually needs to be gone. And so what I've been doing to help secure some inventory is I'll start a conversation with them, and then I just try and get them on the phone. I try to have a phone call with them, and essentially I try and explain to them that I can pick it up on Sundays, or sorry, not Sunday, Monday or Tuesday morning sometime, and I can send, if they need to, I can send them a deposit. If they feel like they need that, I'll send them a deposit for it. And then I tell them that I'm booking a U-Haul to come pick up the couch. And so with the combination of the phone call is good for me to make sure that they're real. And then I think it's good for them as well to hear me speak and know that I'm real. And the deposit also is like a bonus sometimes. They're like, after the phone call, they don't really need the deposit. They're like, no, I trust you that you're going to come on Monday. Like, I trust you. And if they don't trust me enough, then they ask for a deposit, and that's cool. And I send the deposit, and then they really trust that. Usually that settles in their mind the problem of getting the couch out of their house. And that's what they're looking to solve. Like, these people are looking to, most of the time, like, get it off their mind, but they don't necessarily need it gone right away. And so, yeah, I'm basically just solving the problem of getting it gone for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually what you said corresponds exactly to our experience. We've been running pickup ads vis-a-vis the strategy revealed by Roman Pennell on the pod the other day, also attending the couch conference today. And yeah, we just picked up a West Elm couch, retails at $6,500. Got it for free. 2 years old. Like we're gonna make $2,000 on that maybe.
Yep, sure.
And I called him. I'm like, hey, why are you getting rid of this couch? And he says, yeah, we just want a new couch, and we have a new one coming in about 2 weeks. So I was like, so really, like, when would you like this gone by? He's like, ideally when the new couch comes.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Perfect. We can make that happen. So I think you're right. Like, the people who are more organized, that are capable of buying a $7,000 couch and giving it away for free, they want that peace of mind. It's, really, they just want it out of their house. And if you can present yourself as a reasonable person, reliable business that is going to work around their schedule, as much as possible, you're going to find people that are also going to hold up their end of the bargain, make sure that you get a good deal out of it too. But with lower end couches, yeah, we also see the same thing, because people are submitting these free pickup forms, and for like a lower end couch, they might say like, okay, I want it out, but it has to be out today. And we look at the couch like, yeah, we can maybe get $300 for it. So not worth our time in the same way that some of these higher end couches are. So if I can add a little bit of texture with our experience as well at Ivy Flip, then maybe people can get something out of this. But
totally.
Hey, Elwyn, thank you for coming on the pod today. I know we're running a little bit late for the conference now, but I think you've dropped some gems here. I think people are getting a lot of value, some food for thought. Maybe looking for some alternative sources of couches. This is always a concern for people. And I guess my final question for you is, because you're an Ivy Flip customer, how has Ivy Flip helped you with this procurement of couches in the Geo-Arbitrage?
Yeah, it's definitely helped me. Nowadays, mostly what it's really helpful for is when I'm over in Vancouver, and I'll have set up, like a few couches for purchase throughout the week. But it's helped me when I'm in Vancouver. Like, what I'll do is I'll just then glue myself to the phone all the time. Because lately, I don't actually glue myself to my phone, and I haven't really been constantly looking at Ivy Flip notifications or searching for couches throughout the day. Like, I do it, in little blocks, and then I just don't do it. But it's been really helpful for when I'm in Vancouver and I'm just trying to get another like 2 or 3 couches. I can just sit there all day long, or as I'm doing my pickups or as I'm doing my stuff. Then I'll be on Ivy all the time, and within the time span that I'm on that trip, I'll jump on some deals really fast where people are looking to get rid of them, and I just say, hey, I'm coming. I'll come today, or I'll come tomorrow, and then it's good. And then
yeah,
works well.
Actually, I love that. You would think that as the founder of Ivy Flip, I would be pushing, you should get to the deals first. It's all about getting to deals first. I actually discourage flippers from doing that, because it's kind of like looking for the needle in the haystack. You're trying to get in front of opportunity as soon as it presents itself, which is good. You're hustling, but you shouldn't build your business model based on hustling. You should build your business model based on reliable and repeatable practices. And so if you can find couches without having to be the first to every deal, that's better for you in the long run. And, I think you've realized that for yourself as you've started to systematize more and organize yourself more into these 40-hour work weeks. That it's, not just about the hustle you put in, it's about your strategy and your processes. So really interesting conversation today. Hats off to you for figuring out all this in the past year, and excited to see where you go with things. And I think the conference is going to be a huge help with that.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me. Good to talk.
Absolutely. Thanks, Elwyn. Bye-bye.
Bye.